And the reason I was asking the question a little bit tongue in cheek, because when we're working with leaders, typically you hear, I haven't got time for my people. In fact, I've come off a call today with another business where they were going through the agenda of everything in their leadership team that needed dealing with, ran out of time for the people piece.
And bottom of the priorities.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you do that. Now, I know that Softcat is a very people orientated company as well. So does that help, the fact you're in a company that recognizes that as a strength in leadership?
It does, because Softcat's really strong on its culture, and its culture starts with people first. Simple as that. And it is right. A lot of companies will say we put their people first, but I tell you what, I've seen leadership in Softcat prove that time and time again, right? And it is fantastic, right? But the way I see it, right, is when you're in a channel, it's not like back when I was in Big Blue, right? That they would manufacture, and produce products, right, continuously. In the channel, my products are my people. Right, they're the ones with the knowledge, and they're the ones with the relationships, and they're the ones that are actually going to make us successful. So why wouldn't you prioritize your product, right, above everything else? That's all I'm really doing. I'm prioritizing my product and just making it better and better as much as possible, right? The tricky bit is continuing to get the oxygen mask of your own development in, so you can continue to develop those. Because I've got some exceptional people, some because they've been built to be exceptional because they're in the right jobs doing the right things. And some of it's just pure luck. I have just inherited some of the most fantastic, very, very capable people that are going to go on and do fantastically well.
Although it's easy to upset people and lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
People do that really well. Let's go down, I'll leave it with Albert. Let's go down another line.
So you've been doing this for 9 years now, right? You've been into leadership. And there must have been some special times along the way, right? So let's think about a couple of proud moments. So moments where you go, wow, I did that, we did. Tell me about some proud moments as a leader, not about James the individual, but as a leader.
Fine. So first year in Softcat, I was brought in to do a particular role, and that was to build a specific service. Mm-hmm. I set the team. Now, to Neil's point earlier on, I was able to bring some people into Softcat with me because they had come with me through a couple of previous companies. So I knew I had a strong team behind me, and we went in there and we built a service. And I set the impossible task of, one, obliterating all the targets that were given for this service in the first place. And also I wanted it to be the very best in the industry. So I wanted it to win industry awards in the first year and all this kind of a really, really difficult task. But 12 months in, we won. So first year in, we smashed those targets and we won the awards. And these awards, were against people who've been doing this for like 30 odd years in the industry. And for us to come in and take it in first year, really, really proud. Team that I brought in, the sales team that I brought in, they won sales team of the year in the first year they were in the company. So they were brand new into the company, first year in, and they become number one. And so number one people, number one product. It was a really, really proud moment. It was awesome.
That's an amazing achievement, and congratulations for doing that. I'm interested because what you set at the beginning of that was a really ambitious vision and direction, which is clearly we know from all the interviews we've done and our own personal experience that when you get that, that's how you get people behind you. But what drove you to do that? To set such you could have just come in and done the job you were asked to do.
Yeah.
Why come in and...
I wanted something for people to be passionate about and to get behind. It's like, actually, I wanted a theme that actually, no, that's the goal. The goal isn't to build this. It's to be the best, right? It is to prove that we can come in and we can be better than everybody else, right? Yeah. So a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of shoot for the moon. But every time we had the meetings, every time we had those sessions, it was like, is that going to make us the best, or is that just good?
Yeah.
And we continue to keep, which is kind of what I was saying about earlier on about, making sure that when you're looking after your team and you're spending all the time with them, they all clearly understand where you're going, and to give them one goal is a really simple way.
One direction.
You said you brought some people with you, right? So just what's the definition of poaching? Let me just think.
I believe it's
I tease, right? I tease, but actually the serious side
role that they apply for.
Well, the serious side is they came with you, James, right? Why did they come with you? They could have stayed where they were, but they decided to come with you. All right. So let's just follow that. Why did they come with you? What made them leave where they were and come and join you in the company you'd gone to? Because you didn't force them to come, right? Unless you had any photographs of them. They chose to come and join you. Why was that?
It's a difficult question to answer, because I would hope it's because they saw something in me as a leader that they felt passionate enough to leave the job. They had enough belief in me so that I will be successful at what I do next, and I will make them successful as well at the same time. And to be honest, and this is difficult sometimes as well. I've got 3 rules about trying to be a boss, right? Or 3 pieces of advice, and one of them is about really getting to understand yourself, your passions, your loves, your hates. One of them is about building a plan, I mentioned. The third one is just don't be a dick. Yeah. Right. So, and
I think I know who helped you with that one.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, yeah. There's good ways of dealing with things, and there's bad ways of dealing with things. And I think if the people below you know that you will do everything possible to look after them, then that breeds loyalty, and the loyalty means that they come with you.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask you. So it sounds like there's a James Hunnybourne recipe to being a great leader here, which is this: having an ambitious vision and goal and striving towards that. And I'm guessing you just don't communicate that once at the beginning of the year. You're constantly focused on that. The other piece is about focusing on the people. That's clear. What else would you say is an important factor in great leadership?
Knowledge, networking, diversity, right? Just because, it's a risk moving into a new company, doing things maybe the way that you would do them that have worked previously isn't always the great. So it's got to fit the culture. It's got to fit the shape of the company. So getting as many voices in as possible to listen to your team, never believing that you're arrogant enough to have all the answers yourself, right? I mean, it's kind of a given, but then don't just keep it to your team, right? I have a good network of people, and people that have absolutely nothing to do with IT. And you talk to them about IT, and it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you do that? And it's like, I had never thought of that.
Yeah,
that's really
honestly, I had never thought of that.
Was that like a circle of mentors then outside that you can talk to about business type issues, and they will kind of bounce stuff off you?
It's friends, it's family. It's people that I've known that have gone on to now do different things. It's people that are left over from uni days or education or courses. And it's just a mix. It's just a mix. And that's my network's quite eclectic, right? And it's difficult. It can be difficult in the role that I have, because when you're constantly pushing forward and you're trying to break new ground and do new things, and you are the leader of that area, there aren't many places you could go to say, can you help me with this? Right? I was thinking of doing it. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? So you feel a little bit of the loneliness of having to always make the decision. So if I can make that as informed as humanly possible, and make it just bring as much diversity into that as possible, I will.
So I would summarize what you've just said there, really, because firstly, the listening piece is really key. And that we've heard that time and time again, but not enough people do it. They think communication is all one way. But this is a really interesting point that I don't think's come up before, and I think it's so important to just focus on it, is having this network, this mastermind group of mentors, friends, sounding board, people that you can go to, because you don't have all the answers. You can't make all the decisions. You do need to have somewhere you can go. And I'm not sure how many leaders actually do that or actively seek that. So that's a really good tip I would suggest from this discussion.
Cool. Yeah. It was, it's nothing better. It's nothing worse. You've had a really bad day, right? And things that seem really, really important to you. You just go and explain it to somebody who has absolutely no investment or interest or even knowledge about what you're talking about because they can't relate. It's a really cool way of just like taking the fire out of it, right? And just grounding you a little bit. So I use it in that way. But also, like I said, just, everybody looks at it through different eyes, right? If I hired a whole bunch of, about probably stuff that you've probably heard a million times, if I hired a whole bunch of people that thought the same way that I did, we would always go in the same direction and do the same thing, right? And you can't do that. We should become stale, right? So,
but that network could be your buddies down the pub. It could be people you have dinner with, and you didn't plan to have this conversation at dinner.
It doesn't have to be leaders or anything like that. No, not at all. It's just somebody that you can, somebody who has a different perspective from yours, who doesn't know really what the problem is.
When you look at the question that Neil pursued there around you having a network and wherever those people come from, seems like a very strong angle we've not thought of before, because you also said the word, James, right, which you've never heard before. Leadership's a lonely place to be, or it can be.
Right?
It can be if you haven't got anyone to keep you company there. So that's something we might want to also think about for the future in advising leaders. Make sure you've got some company that can have the same conversations with you and understand what you're going through.
I would also recommend...
Or a challenge doesn't understand what you're going through, because that's sometimes where I've had some of my best ideas.
True. Well, yeah. Really good point. Yeah, really good point.
I would also recommend leadership coaching as well.
Yeah. We can give you some good details after this.
Fantastic.
Okay, so Albert, let's do one more question and then we'll go on to quick fire.
I've got one more. So Neil likes to do research before we go on to these subjects. We did slightly different research this time. We thought we'd get a view from people who are affected by the contribution you make. So one of the people that we spoke to, we'll tell you who that is later, I guess. One of the questions they'd liked us to put to you was how you've got here, all the things you've done, but some of that, and I think you've said it earlier as well, James, but if we just drill it a little bit more, what's the best advice anyone's ever given you about leadership that has helped get you to where you are today?
The best advice. So if we brush over make sure your people know, make sure you know what motivates your people, what they're passionate about, and move them into the roles that will see them to be the happiness. That would be a big one. But it's difficult. I would just say, don't forget, it's all about your people, right? It's not about you. It's not about your ego and your drive. Everybody loves a pat on the back and everybody loves the recognition that comes from, because you're the one that takes the risk. You're the one that's going to, you're the one that's potentially going to get fired if it all goes wrong. Yeah. And all that wonderful stuff, right? So it is nice to get some recognition for what you do, but remember, it's your people that have allowed you to get where you are. Even if they're following your ideas, right? It's still your people. So my one thing as a leader, just your people are everything. So mentor them, look after them, develop them, and put them in the right roles.
So that's advice you'd give to leaders, I think, was basically what Albert asked, and I'd be really interested in the answer on, is what's the best advice you've been given about leadership?
Oh, apologies. The best advice I've been given. Yeah. That was play to your strengths and mitigate against your weaknesses. It's really, really obvious, right? But it's exactly what it is. Don't spend your entire life trying to get better at the things that you are bad at. If you are just bad at them, drop them and find other people to do them for you. You are happier and far more inspirational as a leader if you continue to do things you're passionate about. Yeah,
I think the readers of Horse and Hounds would be very happy with that answer. Thank you. So, actually, it was Freddie, by the way, just so you know. But you probably know that's who we went to get.
No, but I'd assume there's a few common ones that you know. So I'm assuming it could have been
So we're going
I'm surprised the question wasn't, what does he continually do wrong?
Actually, the other question was, what does he do every day? But we thought we wouldn't ask that. So we're going to do some quick fire questions now. Okay. I've